Disclaimer.
I saw married Christians in hell for this.
My name is Kevin Andre Harris. I am 47 years old. I died for 10 minutes on November 3, 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia.
And God showed me married Christians in hell. Not for adultery, not for addiction, but for something I was doing every single day. Before I begin, please subscribe so more people can hear testimonies like this. For years, I told myself I was doing the right thing. I built a construction business from the ground up. I worked 14-hour days, sometimes 16. I took contracts no one else wanted. I bid on projects that kept me awake at night. I told myself it was all for them, for my family. For Shanice, for my two sons, Marcus and Jordan. I told myself that every late night, every missed dinner, every weekend spent at a job site was an investment in their future. But the truth I refused to see was that I was building an empire while my home crumbled in silence. I was an elder at New Hope Community Church. People knew my name. When I walked into the sanctuary on Sunday mornings, men shook my hand. Women thanked me for the mission trip I funded last year. The pastor called me a pillar. I gave generously, 10% to tithes, extra for building projects. I paid for youth camp scholarships. I sponsored families who could not afford Christmas gifts. I felt good about it. I felt like I was doing something that mattered. But I did not see Shanice anymore. I did not see the way she looked at me when I came home after midnight, smelling like concrete dust and exhaustion. I did not see the way she stopped setting a plate for me at the dinner table because she knew I would not be there. I did not hear her voice anymore, not really. She would ask me questions and I would answer with a grunt or a nod. She would try to tell me about her day, and I would pick up my phone. She stopped talking eventually, not all at once, but slowly, like a light dimming until the room went dark. I told myself she understood. I told myself she knew I was working hard for us. But she did not understand. How could she? I never explained. I never sat down and talked to her. I never asked her how she was doing. I never asked her if she was okay. She was not okay. The bills piled up on the kitchen counter. The electric bill, the water bill, the car insurance. I made good money, great money, actually, but I was so focused on the business, on the next contract, on keeping my reputation intact, that I forgot to take care of the basics. Shanice handled everything. She paid what she could with what little I gave her access to. I had the main account. She had a small joint account I barely funded. I told myself I would transfer money when I had time, but I never had time. One evening, she came to me while I was in my office, going over blueprints for a commercial project. She stood in the doorway for a moment, hesitant, like she was afraid to interrupt me. I did not look up. "Kevin," she said softly. "Yeah." I did not take my eyes off the papers. "We need to talk about the electric bill. They sent a final notice. If we do not pay by Friday, they are shutting it off." I sighed. I hated when she brought up bills. It felt like pressure. It felt like she was blaming me. "I will take care of it," I said flatly. "You said that last month." And I said I will take care of it. She did not say anything for a moment. I could feel her standing there, waiting for me to look at her. I did not. "The boys need shoes," she said quietly. "Marcus's are falling apart, and we're almost out of groceries. I have been stretching what we have, but—" "Shanice." I finally looked up, annoyed. "I'm handling it. Why do you always come to me with this? I am trying to work." Her face. I remember her face now. It was not angry. It was not even hurt. It was empty. Like she had heard those words so many times that they did not mean anything anymore. "Okay," she whispered. She turned and walked away. I went back to my blueprints. That night, I did not go to bed until after 2 in the morning. When I finally came upstairs, Shanice was asleep. Or at least, her eyes were closed. I did not know if she was really sleeping or if she was just pretending so she would not have to talk to me. I did not ask. I climbed into bed, turned my back to her, and closed my eyes. I did not know that would be the last normal night of my life. The next morning, I left the house before anyone woke up. I had a meeting with a potential client at 7. I did not leave a note. I did not text. I just left. When I got to the office, my phone buzzed. It was Shanice. "Can you pick up Marcus from practice today? I have to take Jordan to the doctor." I stared at the message for a few seconds, then typed back, "I can't. I have meetings all day." She did not respond. I told myself it was fine. I told myself she would figure it out. She always did. But that evening, when I got home around 10, the house was dark. The boys were already in bed. Shanice was sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of bills spread out in front of her. The light above her flickered. The bulb was dying, and I had been meaning to replace it for weeks. She looked up when I walked in. Her eyes were red. "Did you eat?" she asked. I grabbed something. I set my keys on the counter. She nodded slowly, then looked back down at the bills. I stood there for a moment, feeling something strange in my chest, something I could not name. Guilt, maybe, or exhaustion. I did not know. I did not want to know. "I'm going to bed," I said. She did not respond. I walked past her, climbed the stairs, and got into bed with my clothes still on. I fell asleep within minutes. I woke up at 3:27 a.m. At first, I did not know why. My body just jolted awake, like something inside me had triggered an alarm I could not hear. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. Shanice was beside me, her back turned, breathing slow and steady. She was asleep, or maybe she was not. I could never tell anymore. I felt a tightness in my chest. Not pain, just pressure, like someone had placed a heavy hand over my heart and was pressing down slowly. I shifted in bed, trying to take a deep breath, but the air would not come all the way in. I sat up, thinking maybe I just needed to move, maybe I'd been lying in a bad position. The pressure grew. I put my hand on my chest, rubbing it, trying to ease whatever was happening. My pulse was fast, too fast. I felt a bead of sweat roll down the side of my face. The room felt hot, stifling. I thought about getting up, going to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. But then the pain hit. It was not gradual. It was instant. A crushing, burning sensation that spread from the center of my chest out into my left arm, my jaw, my back. I gasped, but no sound came out. My hand clenched into a fist against my ribs, and I doubled over, trying to breathe, trying to call out, trying to do anything. I could not. My vision blurred. The room tilted. I felt my body lean to the side, and then I was falling slowly, like I was moving through water. I hit the mattress hard, my shoulder slamming into the pillow. My mouth opened, but no words came. Just a choked, desperate sound. Shanice stirred. "Kevin." Her voice was groggy, confused. She reached over and touched my shoulder. "Kevin, what's wrong?" I tried to answer. I tried to tell her I could not breathe, that something was wrong, that I needed help. But my throat had closed. My lungs had stopped working. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would explode. And then, suddenly, it stopped. Everything stopped. The pain disappeared. The pressure lifted. The heat faded. I felt weightless, like I was floating. I could not feel the bed beneath me anymore. I could not feel my body at all. And then I saw her. Shanice was sitting up now, her hands on my chest, shaking me. Her face was twisted with panic. She was saying my name over and over, louder each time. "Kevin, Kevin, Kevin, wake up. Please, wake up." I wanted to tell her I was right there. I wanted to reach for her hand. But I had no hand. I had no voice. I was above the bed now, floating near the ceiling, watching her shake my body like it was someone else. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand, her hands trembling so badly she almost dropped it. She dialed 911. I could hear her voice breaking as she spoke. "My husband, he is not breathing. He is not responding. Please, send someone. Please." She gave him the address. She kept one hand on my chest, pressing down, trying to feel for a heartbeat. There was none. I could see my own face. Pale, lips slightly parted, eyes half open but empty. I looked dead, because I was. The bedroom door opened. Marcus stood there, 14 years old, wearing his basketball shorts and a wrinkled t-shirt. His face went white. "Mom." His voice cracked. "Mom, what's wrong with Dad?" Shanice turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Go wake your brother. Stay in his room. Do not come out until I tell you." "But—" "Marcus, go." He backed out of the room, his eyes locked on me, on my body. I saw the fear in his face. I saw the way his hands shook as he gripped the doorframe. I wanted to tell him it was okay. I wanted to tell him I was sorry for every basketball game I missed, every late night I chose work over him, every time I walked past him without asking how his day was. But I could not. I just watched him disappear down the hallway. Shanice was back on the phone, talking to the operator, her voice shaking but steady. She was trying to do CPR. She pressed her hands against my chest, counting out loud, trying to remember the rhythm. She was doing everything right, but my body was not responding. I floated there, helpless, watching my wife fight to save me. And then I felt it. A pull. Not from above. Not toward light or peace or anything comforting. From below. It started small, just a gentle tug at the center of my being, like a thread had been tied around my soul, and someone was pulling it taut. I tried to resist. I tried to stay near Shanice, near the boys, near the life I had been living. But the pull grew stronger. Steady. Insistent. Unavoidable. The bedroom began to fade. Shanice's voice grew distant, like she was calling to me from the other side of a tunnel. I could still see her, still see my body on the bed, still see the tears on her face, but it was all slipping away. The air around me changed. It grew thick, heavy, hot. I was not floating anymore. I was sinking. The light from the bedroom dimmed. Darkness crept in from the edges of my vision, spreading like ink in water. I tried to fight it. I tried to pull myself back, but I had no strength, no control. The pull was stronger than me. And then I heard it. A sound, faint at first, distant, but growing louder with every second. Voices, not speaking, not shouting, weeping, groaning. Endless, hollow sounds of despair. The darkness swallowed me whole, and I was gone. The darkness was absolute. I could not see my hands. I could not see the ground beneath me, but I felt it rough, uneven, radiating a dry heat that seemed to come from somewhere deep below. The air was thick, heavy, pressing against my chest like a weight I could not shake off. I tried to take a deep breath, but the air burned going down. Not like fire, but like something that had been burning for so long it had lost its flame and kept only its heat. I stood there, disoriented, trying to make sense of where I was. The last thing I remembered was my bedroom. Shanice leaning over me, shaking me, calling my name. The paramedics. The pain in my chest. And then nothing. Or maybe not nothing. Maybe this. I took a step forward. My foot landed on something that crunched beneath me, like dried leaves or brittle bone. I stopped. The sound echoed, bouncing off walls I could not see. I realized then that I was not alone. I could hear breathing, shallow, ragged, hopeless. I could hear footsteps in the distance, slow and aimless. I could hear voices not speaking but weeping, groaning. Sounds that had no words but carried every emotion I had spent my life avoiding. Regret, despair, finality. The heat pressed in closer. I felt sweat bead on my forehead, but when I reached up to wipe it away, my hand passed through nothing. I looked down at myself. I could see the outline of my body, faint and translucent, like I was only half there. I was not solid. I was not alive, but I was not gone either. I was somewhere in between. And that realization hit me harder than the chest pain that killed me. I started walking. I did not know where I was going, but standing still felt worse. The ground beneath me sloped downward, and with every step, the air grew hotter, thicker, harder to breathe. The darkness around me began to shift. It was not solid, it moved. Slowly, like shadows with weight, like something alive. I heard chains, faint at first. A soft clinking sound, rhythmic and slow, like someone dragging metal across stone. I stopped walking. The sound grew louder, closer. I turned my head, trying to find the source, but the darkness swallowed everything. And then I saw them. Figures, not fully visible, but outlined in faint, dull light. They were standing. Some were sitting. Some were on their knees. None of them moved with purpose. They just existed, trapped in whatever space they occupied. I could not see their faces clearly, but I could feel their presence. Heavy, hollow, empty. I wanted to call out, to ask where I was, to demand answers. But my voice would not come. My throat had closed, not from fear, from truth. Because deep down, in a place I did not want to acknowledge, I already knew where I was. I just did not want to believe it. The air shifted again. This time it was not heat. It was presence. Someone was near me. I could not see them, but I felt them. Standing beside me. Not threatening. Not comforting either. Just there. Watching. Waiting. And then the voice spoke. It did not come from outside me. It came from within. Not in my ears, but in my soul. Clear. Steady. Unavoidable. You asked why you are here. I froze. My breath caught. I wanted to respond, to deny it, to explain that there had been a mistake. But I could not. The voice was not asking a question. It was stating a fact. I will show you. The darkness around me began to change. The shadows pulled back, revealing more of the landscape. I was standing on a plateau of sorts, rough and cracked, like dried earth that had not seen water in centuries. The orange glow I had sensed earlier was brighter now, pulsing from somewhere below, casting long, distorted shadows across the ground. The figures I had seen before were clearer now. Men, women, standing alone, separated by invisible walls. Each one isolated, each one trapped. And then I saw something that made my chest tighten. Wedding rings. They were all wearing wedding rings. I took a step closer, squinting through the dim light. Some of the men had their heads down, hands hanging limply at their sides. Some were weeping, their shoulders shaking silently. Some just stared ahead, eyes empty, faces hollow. They were not being tortured. They were not screaming. They were just there, alone, separated, abandoned. The voice spoke again. These men destroyed their marriages not with violence, but with absence. I felt my knees weaken. I wanted to look away, but I could not. The voice continued, and every word felt like a knife. They told themselves they were building something, but they were destroying everything. I saw one man standing near the edge of the plateau. He was wearing a suit, a nice one, the kind you wear to church. His wedding ring glinted in the faint light. His face was turned away from me, but I could see his hands clenched into fists, trembling. He was not moving. He was not speaking. He was just standing there, locked in place, trapped in whatever truth he had refused to face while he was alive. The voice did not stop. They provided money but withheld presence. They gave resources but refused intimacy. Their wives became widows while they were still alive. I felt something break inside me. Not physical pain, something deeper. Something I had buried so far down I thought I would never have to face it. And when their wives cried out, they called them ungrateful. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say that I had worked hard, that I had provided, that I had done everything I was supposed to do. But the words died in my throat. Because I knew the voice was not lying. I knew these men were not here by accident. And I knew, God help me, I knew that I was one of them. The presence beside me shifted. I felt it move closer, and suddenly the air changed. It was not oppressive anymore. It was revealing, like a curtain had been pulled back, and now I could see what I had spent my entire life refusing to look at. The voice spoke again, quieter now, but no less powerful. You saw her pain. You heard her cries, and you walked away. I tried to shake my head. I tried to deny it, but I could not, because it was true. You were not too busy. You were too proud. My chest tightened. My hands trembled. I felt myself sinking, not physically but spiritually, like the weight of every choice I had made was pressing down on me all at once. You wanted to be praised by men more than you wanted to be present with her. And then the vision began. The darkness around me dissolved, replaced by images. Memories. My memories. But not the ones I told myself. Not the ones I had edited and justified and buried. The real ones. The ones God had seen. I saw Shanice. She was sitting at the kitchen table, bills spread out in front of her, a pen in her hand, tears streaming down her face. She was trying to figure out how to pay the electric bill with what little I had left in the joint account. She was doing the math over and over, hoping the numbers would change. They did not. I was in the next room, on my phone, scrolling through emails, planning the next project. I heard her crying. I knew she was struggling, and I did nothing. The image shifted. I saw Marcus, 14 years old, standing in the driveway, holding a basketball, looking down the street, waiting. He was waiting for me. I had promised to shoot hoops with him after work. He waited for an hour, then two. Then he went inside. I came home at 11 that night. He was already in bed. I told myself I would make it up to him later. I never did. The image shifted again. I saw Shanice and me in bed. Her back was turned to me. She was awake. I could tell by the way she was breathing. She wanted to talk. She wanted me to reach for her. She wanted me to ask her how she was doing. I pretended to be asleep. The image shifted again. I saw myself at church, shaking hands, smiling, laughing with the pastor. People thanked me for my generosity. They praised me for my leadership. They told me I was a blessing. And in the back of the room, I saw Shanice, standing alone, holding her purse, waiting for me to finish. Her face was tired. Her eyes were empty. No one asked her how she was doing. No one noticed she was struggling. I saw her, and I did nothing. The images kept coming. Faster now, one after another. Every moment I had ignored her. Every time she reached for me, and I pulled away. Every time she asked for help, and I dismissed her. Every time she cried, and I told myself it was not my problem. I saw it all, and I realized something that broke me completely. I had not been absent by accident. I had chosen to disappear. I had chosen my reputation over my marriage. I had chosen public applause over private presence. I had chosen to be a hero to strangers and a ghost to my family. And I had called it sacrifice. The voice spoke one last time, and this time it was not loud. It was quiet, almost gentle, but it cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. You were not serving me. You were serving yourself. I fell, not physically, but spiritually. I collapsed under the weight of my own truth. I had no defense, no excuse, no justification. I'd spent years building an image, and in one moment, it was stripped away, and all that was left was the man I really was. Selfish, proud, absent. And the worst part, the part that crushed me completely, was that I had convinced myself I was doing the right thing. I had convinced myself that Shanice should be grateful. I had convinced myself that my son should understand. I had convinced myself that God was pleased with me. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. I did not know how long I knelt there. Time felt different in this place. It did not move forward. It just was. Heavy. Endless. Permanent. The images had stopped, but the weight had not. I could still see Shanice's face. I could still hear Marcus asking if I would be there. I could still feel the emptiness I had created in my own home while I filled the church with my presence. The voice had gone silent, but the presence remained. I could feel it beside me, watching, waiting, not condemning, not mocking, just revealing. And then it spoke again. Do you understand now? I tried to answer, but my throat was tight. I nodded instead. Slowly, painfully. Do you see what you refused to see? I nodded again. Tears I did not know I could still cry began to fall. Not physical tears, but something deeper, something that came from a place I had kept locked for years. The presence shifted, and suddenly, the air around me changed. The oppressive heat lifted slightly. The darkness pulled back, and I saw something I had not seen before. A door, not a physical door, but an opening, a way out. A light at the far edge of the plateau, faint but unmistakable. The voice spoke again, and this time there was something in it I had not heard before. Mercy, you will return. I looked up stunned. My heart, or whatever I had left of it, pounded in my chest. Not because you deserve it, the voice continued, but because there is still time. I felt something grab me. Not a hand, but a force. Strong, unavoidable. It pulled me upward, away from the ground, away from the figures, away from the darkness. The voice followed me as I rose. You will warn them. The heat began to fade. The shadows began to dissolve. You will tell married men what you saw here. The light grew brighter. I could feel my body again. Not fully, but enough to know I was being pulled back. Tell them that provision without presence is abandonment. The air rushed past me, cold now, sharp, cutting through the heat like a blade. Tell them that attending church does not cover neglecting home. I was moving faster now, pulled upward with violent force. Tell them that their wives are not asking for perfection. They are asking to be seen. The darkness shattered. Tell them that millions of men are walking toward this place, convinced they are doing the right thing. I felt a sudden, crushing pressure on my chest. Tell them that hell is not just for the wicked. It is for the blind. And then I heard it. A voice. A human voice. Loud. Desperate. Stay with us. Stay with us. Air rushed into my lungs. My chest jerked. My eyes shot open. I saw fluorescent lights. White ceiling tiles. Faces hovering over me. Paramedics. One of them was pressing down on my chest. Another was adjusting something on a machine beside me. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a choked gasp. "He's back," one of them said. "We've got a pulse." I heard crying. Distant. Muffled. I turned my head, and through the blur of tears and shock, I saw her. Shanice. She was standing in the hallway, her hands over her mouth, her face wet with tears. She looked so small, so broken, so alone, and I realized something that shattered me all over again. She had been alone for years, and I had done that to her. I woke up in a hospital bed 2 days later. The first thing I saw was white. White ceiling tiles. White walls. White sheets pulled up to my chest. The fluorescent lights above me buzzed softly, and somewhere down the hall, I could hear muffled voices and the beeping of machines. I tried to sit up, but my body would not cooperate. My arms felt heavy. My chest ached. My throat was dry, raw, like I had been screaming for hours. I turned my head to the side and saw monitors beside me, wires running from my chest to machines that tracked my heartbeat, my oxygen levels, my life. A nurse walked in. She smiled when she saw my eyes open. "Welcome back, Mr. Harris," she said gently. "You gave us quite a scare." I tried to speak, but all that came out was a rasp. She poured water into a small cup and held it to my lips. I drank slowly, each swallow painful but necessary. "You had a massive heart attack," she said, adjusting the 4-line in my arm. "You were clinically dead for 10 minutes. The paramedics brought you back, but you have been unconscious for 2 days. We were not sure you would wake up." 10 minutes. I closed my eyes. 10 minutes in that place felt like a lifetime. "Your wife is here," the nurse continued. "She has not left the hospital. Should I get her?" I nodded. My chest tightened again, but this time it was not physical pain. It was something else. Fear, regret, desperation. The nurse left, and a moment later, the door opened again. Shanice stepped inside. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She was wearing the same clothes she had on the night I died. She stood in the doorway for a moment, just looking at me, like she was not sure if I was really awake or if this was another cruel moment where I would slip away again. I reached out my hand toward her. She hesitated, just for a second. Then she walked over and took it. Her hand was cold, or maybe mine was. I do not know. I just held on, squeezing gently, feeling the weight of everything I had ignored for years pressing down on me. "I am sorry," I whispered. She did not say anything. She just looked down at our hands, her lips trembling. "I am so sorry," I said again, my voice breaking. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. She did not wipe them away. She just stood there, holding my hand, crying silently. I wanted to say more. I wanted to tell her everything I had seen, everything I had realized, everything I knew I had to change. But the words would not come. Not yet. Not here. All I could do was hold her hand and hope that somehow she could feel that something in me had shifted, that I was not the same man who had walked past her in the kitchen 3 nights ago, that I had been somewhere I never wanted to go again, and that I would spend the rest of my life proving to her that I meant it. She stayed with me for another hour. We did not talk much. She just sat in the chair beside my bed, her hand still in mine, and I felt something I had not felt in years. Connection. 3 days later, they released me from the hospital. Shanice drove me home in silence. The boys were at school. The house was quiet. I walked inside, and everything looked the same. The kitchen table, the couch, the stack of bills still sitting on the counter. But I was different. That night, after the boys went to bed, I asked Shanice to sit with me. She did not want to. I could see it in her eyes. She was tired. She was hurt. She was afraid of being disappointed again. But she sat down anyway. I took a breath and told her the truth. Not about hell. Not yet. Just the truth about me. I told her that I had abandoned her. That I had chosen work over her. That I had heard her crying and done nothing. That I had made her feel invisible. That I had justified it by calling it provision but it was really selfishness. I did not make excuses. I did not ask for forgiveness. I just told her the truth. She cried. Deep, years-old tears that she had been holding in for so long. She told me she felt like a single mother. She told me she prayed for me to see her, and I never did. She told me she did not know if she could trust me again. I did not defend myself. I just said I know, and I am sorry, and I will spend the rest of my life showing you I mean it. Change did not happen overnight. I wish I could tell you that one conversation fixed everything. That Shanice forgave me immediately, and we went back to being the couple we were supposed to be. But that is not how healing works. That is not how trust is rebuilt. The next morning, I called the pastor and told him I was stepping down as an elder. He was confused. He asked why. I told him the truth. I told him I had been a better leader in the church than I had been in my home, and that had to change. He tried to talk me out of it. He told me the church needed me. I told him my family needed me more. I stepped down. I also called my business manager and told him I was cutting my hours. I told him I needed to be home by 6 every evening. He reminded me of the contracts we had signed, the deadlines we were facing. I told him to figure it out. I told him my marriage was more important than any project. He did not understand, but I did not need him to. For the first time in years, I came home for dinner. I walked through the door at 6:15, and Shanice looked at me like I was a stranger. Marcus and Jordan were sitting at the table, doing homework. They looked up, surprised. "You are home," Marcus said. "Yeah," I said. "I am." I sat down with them. I asked them about their day. I listened. Actually listened. Marcus told me about basketball practice. Jordan told me about a science project he was working on. Shanice sat across from me, watching, quiet, still unsure if this was real or temporary. I did not blame her. That became my routine. Home by 6. Dinner with the family. Phone on silent. No emails after 7. No working through the weekend. I started going to Marcus's basketball games. I started helping Jordan with his homework. I started asking Shanice how her day was and waiting for the full answer, not just the summary. It felt strange at first, like I was learning how to be a husband and father all over again. But I kept showing up, day after day, week after week. Shanice and I started counseling 2 months later. It was hard. There were sessions where she told stories I did not even remember. Moments where I had hurt her and completely forgotten. Moments where she almost left, but stayed because she did not know what else to do. I sat there and listened. I did not defend myself. I did not interrupt. I just listened. The counselor told me something I will never forget. She said, "Provision without presence is abandonment. Your wife does not need another paycheck. She needs you." That became my mission, to be present. Not perfect, just present. 6 months after my death, I was invited to speak at a men's retreat. I almost said no. I was terrified, not of public speaking, but of being honest, of telling men what I had seen, of admitting how close I came to losing everything. But I said yes. I stood in front of 200 men and told them my story. I told them about my heart attack. I told them about hell. I told them about the married Christian men I saw there. Men who work hard, men who provided, men who went to church, men who did everything they thought they were supposed to do, men who abandoned their wives while calling it sacrifice. I told them I was one of them, and some of you are walking the same path I was. The room was silent. Some men looked uncomfortable. Some looked angry, but others had tears in their eyes. After I finished, a man came up to me. His name was David. He was 38. He told me he had been working 70-hour weeks for 5 years. His wife stopped talking to him 6 months ago. He thought she was the problem. After hearing your story, he said, "I realized I was. I am going home tonight and apologizing. Thank you." Another man, Terrell, sent me a message a week later. He said he watched my testimony online at 2 in the morning after finishing another 16-hour day. He woke his wife up and told her he was sorry. He told her he had been abandoning her while calling it provision. They both cried. He said he was changing. A woman named Lisa emailed me. She said she sent my testimony to her husband. He did not say anything for 3 days. Then he came to her and said, "I have been doing this to you." They cried together for the first time in years. I realized then that my second chance was not just for me. It was to warn others before they lost what I almost lost. I kept sharing my story. Churches, men's groups, marriage conferences. I did not sugarcoat it. I told them the hard truth. Provision without presence is abandonment. Attending church does not cover neglecting home. Your wife is not asking for perfection. She's asking to be seen. And men started waking up. Marriages started healing. Wives started feeling seen again. If you're hearing this, it is for a reason. Do not ignore the warning. Do not wait until it is too late. Examine your heart today. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly saw my wife? When was the last time I asked her how she was doing and waited for the real answer? Stop waiting for the right time. There is only now. I was given a second chance. Do not waste yours.